Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Politics here at The Hindu with me, Nistula Hebbar, where we unpack the news making the headlines in domestic politics. This week, I was all of a mind to go back to Punjab Congress and the never-ending infighting that seems to be happening in that state with that party between Captain Amrinder Singh, PCC President Navjot Singh Sidhu, and the party high command in New Delhi. But that is a fight that doesn't seem to be ending this week, and a sense of closure seems a little further away than this particular episode would have dealt with. And therefore, I thought, let me move to a more less ephemeral topic, and that of women as a voting bloc in this country. Now, last week, Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, in charge of Uttar Pradesh, announced that her party would be reserving 40% of all tickets that they will be fighting in Uttar Pradesh assembly elections next year for women. This is not a new idea. During the general elections of 2019, the Biju Janata Dal had reserved tickets for women in their state, and in fact now have one of the largest representations for women in their party and among Lok Sabha MPs in Delhi. So therefore, this is not a new idea, but it still needs to be gone into in terms of what it says about the evolving democracy, electoral democracy in our country. As a political ploy, reserving tickets for women seems to be a good idea if one looks at the near past and the loyalty with which the women's vote bank has stuck to political parties who they feel have served their interests. One need only to look at what happened in Bihar in 2020 when Nitish Kumar, faced by a belligerent LJP and a resurgent RJD, finally kind of got through the finish line with the help of the women's vote. Women voted in far more numbers than men did, especially in the last few phases when it seemed that the JDU seems to be in trouble, and women came out in large numbers in support for the JDU because the Nitish Kumar-led government had implemented several women-friendly programs and policies and direct benefit schemes like the Jivika program, bicycles for school-going girls, reservations in jobs for women in home guards and other government institutions, etc. Well, if one looks at some of the numbers from the past to now, also this move makes a lot of sense, in the sense that in the 1962 elections, let me just read this out, only 47% women came out to vote compared to 62% of the men. By 2019, in states like Assam, Bihar, Odisha, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and West Bengal, more women voted than men did. So a lot of people also say that the women's voting bloc is different from the larger women and men mixed voting bloc and the male voting bloc, in that the women also look at specific programs and policies done to address specific needs that they have felt should come to them from the state, and are also therefore a lot more loyal when they see that their vote will make a difference in electing back such a government. Patnaik and Nitish Kumar seem to be some of the people who have gamed this particular voting bloc pretty early on in their political career. Now, why is it that the women voting has increased from before? Of course, the usual conditions apply, in that education levels have improved among women, and more than anything else, women have seen a lot of panchayat leadership because of the reservation for women in panchayat leadership at the grassroots level. They have seen that, and they have seen that organization and representation makes a huge material difference to the lives of women, especially in rural areas. In fact, one of the trends that we have seen in electoral politics lately is that more rural-based women come out to vote in larger numbers than do urban women. Now, that's just one aspect of the women's vote and how it behaves. Let me again go into some of the other numbers in terms of how representation for women has improved. This time around in the Lok Sabha, we have 78 women MPs, which is a historically high number, and several parties have contributed to raising this number, not least of all the BJD, which reserved 33% of tickets for women, and the West Bengal's Trinamool Congress, Mamata Banerjee-led Trinamool Congress. Now, both these parties have a massive number of women MPs representing them in the Lok Sabha. The Biju Janata Dal has 41.6% of all its MPs being women in the Lok Sabha, and the TMC has about 40.9%. This was a programmatically done hike in representation. The BJP, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, also being one of those leaders who has been extremely popular with women through the Ujjwala Yojana, the Awas Yojana, and the Swachh Bharat toilet construction scheme, as well as the current flagship program of the NDA government, which is the Jal Shakti Mission. All of these programs are said to have kind of made him an extremely popular figure among women voters, and they have voted with their feet and with their fingers for him in successive elections. Now, BJP, out of the 78 MPs in the Lok Sabha this time, 34 MPs are from the BJP, and there are 9 ministers, women ministers, in the current Union Council of Ministers, and also representation for women in the highest, most exclusive club in the cabinet, which is the Cabinet Committee on Security, where Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is still a member. So, therefore, women as a category, as a voting bloc, are emerging. But are they the only category, or is gaming the women's vote the only thing that will propel you to power? Now, if you look at previous history, obviously one needs a lot more than just the support of women to win. Party organization, community dynamics in terms of joining other communities to you, and of course male voters, and a very strong and vibrant organizational structure at the grassroots level is required to mobilize women voters. When in power, parties need to stick to what they have promised in terms of the specific direct benefit transfer schemes which have been promised to women during the elections. In fact, in Tamil Nadu, in a very, very famous example, which psephologists never tire of talking about, in 2016, the late Jayalalitha broke the pattern of alternation in Tamil Nadu because more men were polled than women by psephologists who predicted that the opposition, that then opposition DMK would come to power, but the AIA-DMK romped home specifically on the basis of women's support, because all the promises that had been made to women voters had been fulfilled. People felt that they could trust that particular government to deliver on their promises. So therefore, when we talk about women's votes, it is a creature which is still to be navigated in terms of all its implications and how to get it on your side. But the fact remains that specific direct benefit transfer situations do work, programs do work among women voters, and sincerity in carrying out these programs is a big factor when women come out to vote for you. For parties which want to go ahead and try and cultivate the women vote, the rewards are, of course, loyalty and a kind of a break from the narrow confines of community politics. That's all I have for you this week in Talking Politics. Thank you for watching.